Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me on my channel. I don't really know what I'm doing. Hopefully, as time goes on, we get better at this. So, welcome to my channel. And if you have not seen or know of me, my name is Scott Milligan. I am the medium that represents the Austin Wish Circle. My mediumistic career has spanned over 24 years to date, where I've sat in the confinements of a room with same people. Obviously, I say same people. People come and go, obviously, in life and in death. So they join me either on this side of life or in the world unseen. So for 24 years, I have been representing the Austin Wish Circle in physical mediumship. Physical mediumship is what it is on the tin. A mental medium will stand up on platform and through their senses will relay information to you. And if you recognize the story that they say, then you say yes, and it becomes evidence. And that is a mind to mind communication. Physical mediumship is that you will actually hear and perceive and experience what the medium is experiencing at that moment, in the sense that a gas leaves the medium's body, and as it touches air, it becomes solid, and therefore those who are supposed to be dead become visible once again. And that's physical in a tiny, tiny nutshell. So, as I said to you, I want to welcome you all. It kind of came to my attention today that when we were talking with friends of mine, and we were talking about the history of spiritualism and how much it has changed over the years that has passed. Mediumship has always been, it has always been there, but it's only recently been written about, only in the past few hundred years, where the ink is now dry. But throughout history, from the birth of man's awakening, there has been this supreme power that flows through all of us, that animates certain individuals to be able to hear, see, and feel those who you have loved, who have lived the earth and now has passed. As I'm talking to you now, be it in the present or in the future where now I may be a distant memory and I now live in the invisible world. There's the Arthur Findlay College, which is a place in Stansted in Essex in the United Kingdom, used to belong to the wonderful man Arthur Findlay. Arthur Findlay himself, who was a psychical research, attended a seance with John Campbell Sloan, and through the wonderful experience of that seance, as he was an independent direct voice medium, through Campbell Sloan's capability, convinced Arthur Findlay to then set aside the rest of his life for the promotion and the investigation of spiritualism, to such a degree that he bequeathed his house to the Spiritual National Union. Now, this house is like a second home to many of us. It's like the mecca of what our truth stands for. And we go there for training. We go there to feel normal within the confinements of that establishment. But development can happen in your own room, within your own house. The spirit world is all around us. And therefore, all it takes is for each of us to move our mind to such a degree that it allows it to be dusted and touched by the invisible world, making things visible. So throughout history, even though that some people who are hearing these words may turn around and say, no, I don't agree with you, and that is your right as a human being. But throughout history, wonderful philosophers, as well as psychical researchers like Montague King, David Fontana, Sir William Crookes, and name but a few. These wonderful people who were respected in their field had been touched by the great power of mediumship. Ask yourself a question. What were you before you were born? And what will you become after your death? It seems a bit cruel if we are only born for a moment and then the rest of our existence we are rotting in the ground or consumed by fire. Religion, of course, has given a different story, that we will be judged by the one that created. But if we don't know our lessons, if we don't know what is right and wrong, then from the moment of our birth, we've already set that path of destruction, of judgment. So if that doesn't feel well or sit well with myself, like mediumship may not sit well with you, but one day you and I will die and we will see each other in the next life. You can laugh and point as I be judged, or I can embrace you as a brother or a sister when it is your time to step over that stream and into the eternal world. Who is right and who is wrong at the moment, we do not know. But I, at this moment in my life, believe and know that there is a world beyond this world. Because history has told us, history has given wonderful people like Estelle Roberts, a lady who was able to sell every seat of the Royal Albert Hall, standing room for people. And she, as a vulnerable lady, stood there and pointed into the crowd beyond her vision and said, I have your mother, I have your father here. This lady, who was laughed at by so many, was able to do such wonderful things because she had faith. Faith in what she had known, what she had seen, what she has become in her way of life. So throughout history, spiritualism has stood, and it will continue to stand. The union of the spiritual world is to unify all religions, to unify all of us together, so that war does not start with religion. War does not start because of the color of our skin or our sexuality. It is a union that at the body of this union is love. And this embodiment of what we stand for is the very reason for us to breathe and to live. If you go back in history and you see the wonderful mediumship of Florence Cook, who was able to move into the altered states and fall asleep on the side of a chair. And as she fell asleep, a gas left her. This gas formed into a woman called Katie King. Katie King was extraordinary to the point that Sir William Crookes was able to take the pulse, and the pulse was different to Florence Cook, which showed that this invisible person became visible and had a pulse. The so-called dead became alive, so it loses that title. So once again, as we stand in the presence of today, in the past, there have been extraordinary people. Gordon Higginson, the very person that saved the Union, the very person that worked tirelessly to save the Arthur Findlay College from bankruptcy. Through his extraordinary capability, his father thought he was strange at times when he would pick up a ball and throw it, and it would stop in midair and fly back to him. He would play catch with his friend Cuckoo, a spirit child that came to bring him comfort, but also came to work with him, that convinced so many people who sat in his seances, sat in his demonstrations, sat for healing, that Cuckoo would come and sit and play and work wherever it was required. The history of the past is written, is set in stone. We cannot change it. We are told to live for today, to build a better future. The future is unwritten. The ink has not been touched. So I wonder now what you will do when we place within your hands a pen and give you a piece of paper. What would you write, which will be held in history, be read in a different time, listened in a different way? So at this moment, you yourself, who are listening to these words, have the opportunity to live for the present, but also build for a better future. We look back in history, we look back on the past, and we honor all those who gave them lives in service, gave their lives to be vulnerable, to be wrong at times, but also to help and heal the hearts of many. But these certain individuals were unable to do this by themselves. They needed people like you and I who would sit and give them time, give them patience, give them love. The medium is only the one that represents all those who cannot speak at that moment, but also all those wonderful people that sat and gave their time for their gifts to blossom. Really, where does the gift come from? If the spiritual world is all around us, then is it our soul itself that has presented an opportunity for things to blossom and to grow? So when we pray, instead of praying to someone who is being written about by someone else, then should we be praying to ourselves, to our souls, and saying, thank you for giving me this opportunity. What is my lesson for I to learn? What is required of me for you to fulfill your benign purpose? So much has been written in the past, which is so confusing. My friend in the other world said books are for writing, not for reading. And I kind of think and ponder over that suggestion. For when we read from someone else's experience, when you yourself should be going and finding your own experience. So a shepherd should always smell of his flock. A person should always walk amongst the people so that you and I can have our own experience. And if you say to me, Scott, what was your experience? I can tell you. But then that robs you of the art of trying to discover for yourself. If you turn every rock and stone over and still not have the answers, then I will share my experience, but it was my experience, not yours. Likewise with you, when I come to you and ask you a question, you should encourage me to go and in turn try and find the answer for myself, to go to the invisible world and say to them, what was it like and how can I serve you the best? So I came on here to talk about history. As my friend has said, yesterday is history. Tomorrow becomes the mystery. Tomorrow has not been written. So if you are struggling at this moment, dig your heels in now and not be a victim, but be someone who says enough is enough. I am in charge of my life. I am in charge of my world. And I'm going to make it a stronger, a better, and a loving world it will be. So thank you for listening. I don't know really what I'm doing here, but I'm doing my best. I hope you're well, wherever you are in the world and wherever you are in time. At this moment, we are stuck and still in lockdown, which is slowly being eased, but then it's being pushed back down and eased and pushed back down. So it's a new way of life. I've got corona hair. And for those who don't know or do know, it's because we haven't been to the hairdressers or the barbers to get trimmed or sheared. So hopefully the next time you see me, I'll be a little bit more smarter. But I wanted to come on here, set the ball rolling, because I don't know what I'm doing, as I've said, but I hope you've enjoyed the journey. Now, as you have watched these words, they're now going to fall into history. History where it can rest and be dusty, or occasionally be picked up and loved. So take care, guys. Keep going, keep fighting, keep loving, and let's see what tomorrow brings. Take care now. Bye-bye.